So we're going to talk about just recognizing our ego when it shows up, because for me, either someone else points it out to me, close to me, or I see it in myself. If you have to wait around for other people to tell you, hey, your ego's out of control, it's too late usually.
But to look at people who are better than you and know they had to have sucked at one point in time. Okay, there's somewhere along the end of this tunnel, there's got to be a light. I just got to keep going.
That's what life is. It's always going to be about business. Business is not a game. Business is business. And that's what your life is about.
If you put in the work, they can't stop you. Don't you realize that you are Don't you realize that you are special? Don't you realize you were put it for a reason? Because you were born to prosper be. Great, pursue your own version of happiness that's wrapped in your capacity. Your ability to believe in a dream, even if nobody believes in you. It's two people born in the hospital every day. It's a person that's born in the hospital that's going to get a job. It's somebody born in a hospital that's going to give them a job.
So we've got to be able to see our ego when it rears its head, be aware of it, and it loses its power over us. We can go back to being our real selves, which is point one today. You can't love yourself if you're not being yourself. You can't love yourself if you're not being yourself. And when our ego shows up, in a minute, I'm going to show you some not so subtle ways egos show up, and you're going to see what I mean about maybe your ego is present. But remember this, when ego shows up, we're not ourselves. We're not connected to God. In other words, if you can let go of your ego, you can let God in. When you can let go of your ego, you can let your real confidence in. When you let go of your ego, you can go really become who you were born to be. And so oftentimes, this is so important you get. You may be losing right now because of your ego. Because of your ego. Because you're not feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
And that takes ego,
and
right?
Ego, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, ego drives, you to be successful, me to be successful. Ego is what's driving you. The problem is when you let ego go too far.
Yeah.
And, everything takes balance. There's a dichotomy in everything. Every part of you has a dichotomy. You can get so into the physical aspects of things that you end up like doing a bunch of steroids and going crazy and ruining your health. Right?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Right.
The other end of the spectrum, you can sit around and play video games and turn into
bodybuilding is a great example of that, because when you start lifting weights, you're like, God, I'd like to be stronger.
And so let's get into some of the things that are indicative of big egos. The really obvious ones that I want you to look at when they rear their head, sometimes for you or others. But then we're going to go to the not so obvious ones, and then we'll talk about a solution. So here we go. Here are some of the signs that your ego is taking over in your life. Number one, defensiveness. It's not one you'd think of, is it? Defensiveness. You ever meet somebody who's very defensive, very reactive about whatever their situation is or whatever you're asking them about? Their ego is rearing its head. Sometimes we need to respond to criticism to get better, and when we're defensive about it, that's our ego rearing its head. So in yourself and in other people, do you see any defensiveness patterns for you? This is an ego issue. Number two thing that's ego issue is always trying to be right or prove what you're saying to be true in excess. If you ever meet somebody who's kind of going out of their way to prove what they're saying is true, this is usually their ego taking over because they know what they're saying may not be true, and this is their ego rearing its head. The second thing is the need to always win in a disagreement, the need to always win in a fight.
You start getting a little bit bigger. You're like, oh, look at that. I got a muscle. Woo, this is cool. And then you keep going, and then you keep going. But some guys get so, they won't stop until they have 22-inch arms, and they want to have thighs that are so big they have to walk like they've got a barrel in between their legs. And, and they just can't help it. They just take it to some completely unhealthy place.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, well, it's just the nature of trying to get good at something. You got to recognize what's good and what is just, for some people especially, they're just experiencing way too much pressure. And that pressure, a lot of times, it's just an imbalance in perspective. And some of it's, I was talking to this mom once. Her daughter does gymnastics with my daughter, and we were talking about kids killing themselves where she used to live. She used to live in one of the really wealthy tech areas outside of San Francisco, and a bunch of kids that went to school with her daughter that were like 15, 16 were jumping off bridges and shit. Like it was like an epidemic.
You get to decide which one. I want you to take a long, hard look at the people you surround yourself with. You can't expect to become a millionaire when you're hanging out with drug addicts. You cannot expect to become the absolute highest level version of yourself if you're Surround yourself with people that never once see you do better than them. Waking up the goals that you want to achieve.
You hear people say all the time, nothing personal, it's just business. That's true. You got to bury your emotions and you got to be about your business. You got to be about the action. And if you put the action out there, then you will get a reaction. Let's just make sure that the reaction is productive and it's getting you in the position that you need to be. Action is important. Words are words. Action gets things done. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to take it to the level and beyond? Are you going to sit around and wait for someone to push you, or are you going to push yourself? Or you're going to have the right attitude to drive yourself to that level and go beyond it? Or you're going to just make excuses?
They bitch about not having time. They bitch about their boss. They bitch about their husband. They bitch about their lives. They bitch about everything. Some people even follow me on Instagram and bitch about me. We bitch about everything in life, but we do nothing about it. Very few people do anything about it. I'm fat, I'm out of shape. What are you doing about it? You gotta take action in your life. You gotta stop bitching. Find a solution. Don't be the problem. Take action. For every action, there's an opposite reaction. If all you do is bitch, nothing's gonna happen in your life. Take action, take control, stay hard.
Life's about improvise, adapt, and overcome every situation that's in front of you. A lot of people hate that message that I say continue pushing, continue finding your new 100%, continue finding your best self, not making excuses.
Goals, and nobody else sees hundreds of people give up on their goals on a daily basis. And it's usually because they realized quickly after starting their journeys that they're alone. Nobody's waking them up in the morning. Music. Nobody's pushing them when they start to make excuses. And nobody's patting them on the back when they hit milestones. So whatever you want to achieve in life, maybe it's losing a certain amount of weight to become the best version of you.
That's all you hear about, is I am not going to do or I cannot do. That's all you hear most of the times. People are too busy putting themselves in a position where they don't want to go to the next level because it's too hard. I don't think I got it. I don't think I can do it. I'm not strong enough. Better you than me. You and me are two different people. You're not like everyone else. You're special, I'm special, we're all special, we're all unique. But you've got to put the action to work. Do something that's going to change something within your ideas and your mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. Every single day of my life, I wake up to a new idea and what I need to do with myself. But for me and for you, there are two different paths. Everybody's got to go in a certain direction.
Overcoming any and all obstacles.
Where do you start? You start right here. When do you start? You start right now. You initiate action. You go. Between the moment when you are waiting to do something that you don't want to do, and the first motion, and the moment when you initiate the action, all the interim, the whole time you are waiting to take that action is like a phantasma or a hideous dream, is like an evil specter, an apparition, a nightmare. So the battle, the struggle, the hesitation takes place in that moment when we must step into the unknown. That moment filled with fear and horror. And that fear is what causes hesitation, and hesitation causes defeat.
Maybe it's building a business to provide financial freedom for your family and to travel the world, or maybe it's just being a better father, mother, or partner for your spouse. Whatever it is, it's all on you, and the quicker you realize that, nobody's going to come and hold your hand through life through this journey, the faster you will start to see success. Stop relying on outside sources of inspiration, motivation, and support to get you there.
you.